All right, you've all heard the term Industry 4.0. Well, it's here, and it's been called the next revolution. But there's a big question for organizations out there. How do you make it real and help, use it to transform your business? Well, to find out, we have David Meek of IBM Watson to tell us how.
Get my clicker here. Thank you for attending. Last days are always iffy, depending on how full people are of the conventions. It's great to see so many people still interested in the learnings and the sharing that's going on at IoT World this year. Really appreciate it. I want to start with the question I get from almost all my clients, and it's usually the number one or number two question is, how do we get started? How do we be successful, and how can we avoid the pitfalls that we see with other companies? And I usually like to start with some of the examples where I see companies spend a lot of energy, sometimes spending a lot of money, and really not realizing the value. And I put them in three different categories. The first one I call IoT tinkering. This is folks going out and buying devices, using a lot of shareware, freeware, and building some conference room things, flying a drone around the parking lot. And what it ends up being is a lot of, I call it IoT tinkering, but it's really just self-education. A lot of times these proof of concepts then get proposed for a larger project, and I see so many of them not getting approved. And the reason is pretty simple. The business doesn't believe the value. What occurs in a conference room is much different than what occurs on a complex manufacturing floor. And one of the big examples are like vibration sensors. Pretty easy to get them to work and use as a data input in a conference room, not so much on the factory floor. Factories by nature are noisy, lots of things driving around, pallets, conveyor belts, and it just ends up being very complex to implement. The next is around data first. I've got a client that spent $1.8 million and 18 months trying to get their data ready. And the reality is, at almost 2 years now, they haven't deployed a single solution. They haven't really given that value back to the business. And they've discovered what many of you already know, that data is a journey. You'll always be cleaning it up. You'll always be gathering it. And quite frankly, if you focus on the value in the use cases, that'll point you towards the data that you need in the short period to realize that value. The last one is IT Centric. And this is where the IT department wants to get ahead of it, which is a good thing. But they see choosing the solutions kind of like choosing an ERP system. We need to do a vast software selection. This is a do or die decision. We need to evaluate this over the next year and make one final, one-size-fits-all decision. And the reality is the IoT platforms, the analytics platforms, the edge devices, all of the things that come into IoT solution ecosystems are very rapidly changing. 2 years ago, blockchain was kind of something with cryptocurrencies. Today, it's part of the fabric. Does your IoT platform have native blockchain transactions? We're rapidly seeing in grocery, mining, logistics, the importance of blockchain and being part of that IoT fabric. So what do companies do to be successful? I would say overall is taking a hard look at their strategy and seeing what projects, how they can use this vast array of technology to realize their value. One example is an oil field services company. Their CEO said, we want to maximize our return on assets. And you think about all the trucks and trailers in oil fields all over the world. If they're not working, they're not making money off of those assets. So it was an easy sell in the C-suite to be able to put GPS and satellite-enabled sensors on all these trucks all over the world. Very easy sell for that because it matched his strategy and his public commitment to the street. Second is focus on value. The mistake I see a lot of companies doing is grabbing a new piece of technology. Hey, I have this edge device. Let me go see what I can solve with it. Rather than what are the problems that I'm having on the manufacturing floor, elsewhere in my business, and how can I use a host of tools to solve those problems or increase performance. Once you figure out what the problem is and the value by fixing it or improving performance in that area, it's really around selecting the building blocks that you need. You might need more powerful edge devices. You might need a couple different types of networks. So once you have the building blocks, that'll also help you decide on what data needs to be captured and how that data needs to be used. So give you some examples. Typically, most of the journeys I see start on the left and go towards the right. And that's because the assets are the ones historically that are generating all the data. I'm seeing more and more projects starting in production, but it doesn't have to be there. I have companies in working capital and inventory. Obviously, logistics companies have been censored and have been using these technologies for years, and even consumerization. So two of our clients are both cement companies, two very different strategy and approaches to this. One started on the left with production. Their single largest expense is electricity to run their cement crushing mills. It's 1/3 of their P&L. It's huge. If they can lower that, it's a big win for them. So they used machine learning algorithms to optimize their quality while minimizing their energy use. And they were able to save over $1 million a year per mill, and they have 800 mills globally. So you can see how a single use case can scale. Another cement company of ours, and you can go out and look at all the YouTube videos, it's Cemex in Mexico. They viewed the cement industry as rapidly commoditizing. So they can join everyone else in a race to the bottom in terms of cost management, but they went a different direction. Their CEO said, I want it as easy to order cement as it is to order something off of Amazon. So now they have Cement Go. It's for contractors and building supervisors and any kind of construction people in the field to order their ready mix right on their phone. They can see the cement trucks Uber-like as they're coming. They can order kickers. And now they have other players in the cement space coming to their platform. They went with a business platform approach in order to make money even off of their competitor cement. So very different approaches, but both very valid using the IoT tool sets. So when we talk now just about manufacturing, these are a whole host of solutions, approaches. Yesterday I was on a panel talking about preventive maintenance and managing assets and making sure that we had the most uptime for those. Today I'm going to talk more about how do we get more about the operations of those assets. So I'm going to do a deep dive into production optimization and connected manufacturing. And really because I want to get down to customer examples and show you some of the numbers that they've been able to achieve. The other thing that we're seeing is, in addition to ERP systems, the traditional automation systems, most manufacturers above a certain size have data historians, which are really key as a source of data, especially when you're training both deep learning and machine learning algorithms to improve performance. But we're seeing blockchain come in, the ability to handle unstructured data. These can be images, these can be ongoing video, and being able to use that in the field to help either augment decisions or predict or identify problems. So with that, I'm going to focus first on connected manufacturing. One of the things that I'm seeing all over the place is firms struggling with the convergence of IT and OT. And this is a variety of reasons. One, IT's been at the back office for decades. Manufacturing folks have been happy in their plant, and they each kind of manage their own world. The reality is these are converging. Advanced analytics, artificial intelligence is really historically, and it still is, a realm of IT. My personal feeling is the full benefits of these really occur in the supply chain and the manufacturing floor. So the manufacturing process engineers and giving them an ability to select algorithms, create models, and improve their performance is really a new opening for them. This solution came about actually at the request of several of our clients. We didn't realize it at the time, but they were looking for a way to capture data from their manufacturing floor, be able to secure it, use it as a staging area for multiple machine learning models across multiple lines and then across multiple plants. They deployed a machine learning algorithm to maximize their throughput on a furnace. And we were able, in 8 weeks, to triple the previous year's efficiency gains with data scientists that didn't know anything about their business. And that's just the magic of the potential that these things have. Well, the level of effort to get that data out of their systems, get it set up so the machine learning algorithm can use it, was a lot of effort. And they didn't want to repeat that at plant after plant after plant, especially if they were rolling around globally. So you'll also see some of the other customers that we have using this. And there's a couple layers here that make it all work together. One is the connectivity to the actual devices, whether you're connecting to historians, the automation system, assets directly. Got a bunch of different items here, MQTT. A lot of our clients use Telit and Kepware to connect. We also have a plant service bus. A major German automotive manufacturer uses our plant service bus to connect 240 manufacturing systems on their shop floor, all the way from body and welding through the paint shop. So it's a way to really get a handle on all these data flows. Next is the IoT platform and being able to connect all this together, be able to capture that information in a secure environment. And each of these layers have security, and I can't emphasize that enough. That's very important. And then be able to have that platform to rapidly deploy AI models. In addition to that, some of our clients really struggle with visualization of what's really going on, and I'll talk about an example in a moment. But this solution has a out-of-the-box dashboard with a lot of the common manufacturing KPIs, and it's fully mobile enabled. And then from there, this is where it's kind of the glue and the infrastructure straddling IT and OT, where we can deploy these models quickly. So an example that we have, and you can go out again to YouTube and play the videos, is L'Oreal in France. Consumer products manufacturers have new challenges. Historically, for decades, they've been a push-type manufacturing. They do their long-term plans, they get forecasts from their customers, and they build a push model. So they were really able to optimize their manufacturing with long runs, minimum turnovers, and they were really kind of fat, dumb, and happy for the last 20 years doing that. But the situation's changed. They're getting new demand. I met with a large consumer goods manufacturer in Cincinnati, and they're getting demands from Alibaba, Amazon, others, and these are coming sometimes very up and down, not very well forecasted. And so what's happening to them is they're getting killed on turnovers, they're getting killed on service level agreements with their customers. And so they've had to really change how they manage their factory floor. So at L'Oreal, a big part of their challenge was getting the information in the hands of the line supervisors, the shift supervisors, the plant manager, the people walking around the floor with real-time information so that they can make informed decision about what's going on, what changes to make, and what was really the next step. So in this case, just the connectivity and the ability to see what's going on, and then that is being leveraged to optimize their upstream and downstream supply chain. It enables them to see problems early so that they can nip them in the bud. And they've already got between 2 and 5%, depending on the manufacturing line and the facility, benefits from that. So you take that percentage, you times it by the volume of materials that are coming out, and they couldn't be more ecstatic. So it's a great reference for us, and I suppose that's probably why they are willing to make videos on YouTube about it. They're pretty happy. Next, once we have the connected manufacturing in place, and again, it's not a prerequisite, is having a robust tool set that makes it easy to apply these artificial intelligence, machine learning models, and in some case deep learning models to improve individual performance. So this is our production optimization. This continues to grow. The next release will include a studio for manufacturing process engineers to select algorithms and pull in data sets with an easy graphical user interface. So you don't need to call the data scientist to apply these algorithms to improve your business. But some of the algorithms that we have here is predicting future process variants and then making prescriptive recommendations back to the operators. Turn this knob, increase this amount based upon real-time information entering the process. And it can be used to optimize quality. We have people using it for that, improving throughput, minimizing energy use. I'm just trying to think of some of the other use cases that we have it deployed on. All of which is over and above the automation system, which is really based on controlling and keeping a process stable. Next one is quality failure prediction. That is looking at the incoming data and trying to make sure that the patterns in the data are able to predict early when and if you're going to have quality failures. And the idea is to go out and update your machines, make adjustments. In a lot of manufacturing, it's recalibrating machines and tooling to make sure that they keep making good parts. And the idea is let's take corrective action before we begin to have parts fail in the quality process. Some of the other ones are machine failure prediction, process anomaly. So how is the machine running? It might still be making great parts. It is running fine from an appearance standpoint, but because of the data feed, we know that there's something wrong in there, and we need to take a look at it. So with that, here's an example. This is a beverage company. If you've been involved with the CPG space or grocery, the number one turnover item in a grocery store is soda. So these lines run at very high speed. And what happens is the filler machines over time can gum up, can stop. They're highly sensitive to temperature and humidity. And here we're using production optimization to predict and give recommendations on the actual filling per bottle in high speed of how much product goes in. And we found that taking these other environmental factors into account that really weren't historically controllable, we can really affect the output. So here we're pulling information out of the Siemens system, running our machine learning models, and then making recommendations. And the results that they have, 3% reduction in over and under filling, 3% improvement in OEE, 5% reduction in energy consumption. And the neat thing about these use cases, L'Oreal, this company, others, is we continue to find additional benefits from these projects that aren't part of the initial business case. We find that we run machines at their optimum without stressing them. When we minimize the energy use. We get assets that run more reliably. We have fewer quality issues, and we have cost of quality problems decrease. And so there's, coming out of the woodwork, we end up with a whole host of additional benefits. And it's important to capture those. Back to my initial thing, talking about strategy, take the time when you're deploying your first projects to capture the value as you deploy it, and for the next 3, 6, 1 year after you deploy it, to make sure that you have that value. And I guarantee you that'll help with the next phase of your project and sell in the next projects that you have. I want to thank you for inviting me to speak today. I'll be available out in the hallway if anyone has some questions or would like to set up some time. Again, thank you, and safe travels back to your home.